One of the most common questions I hear from officers is, what do I do when someone clearly needs help but refuses every option I offer? If you've been stuck in that moment, you're not alone. And today I'll show you the one shift that turns those refusals into a yes, with real examples you can use on scene. I'm Troy Siewert. After 30 years in law enforcement, I can't count the number of times I was on a call with someone refusing help, wondering what else I could try. As a CIT officer and supervisor, I had to figure out what actually worked. Now, I train officers like you in those same strategies so you're not left guessing under pressure on your own calls. Here's the problem. Most of us go straight into fix-it mode. We ask a few quick questions and then start throwing out solutions so we can wrap up the call. That approach often backfires. To the person in crisis, feels like we didn't really listen, which kills trust and makes them push back. And it puts all the pressure on us. We end up tossing out solution after solution, most of which don't land because they don't line up with what actually matters to the person in crisis. That's why these calls feel like a grind. And it's exactly where most officers get stuck. Not because they don't care, but because nobody ever showed us a better way. So what does work instead? It starts with one change in how we approach the conversation. If we slow down, listen, and use the information they give us as the starting point, the whole interaction changes. Their resistance fades, trust starts to build, and real collaboration becomes possible. So let's break this down. Say you've already done the listening and you understand what really matters to the person in crisis. This is where today's big tip comes in. Use what you've learned to bring them into the solution. See, the mistake most of us make is taking what the person told us and turning it into our own list of fixes. How many times have you found yourself throwing out idea after idea, only to hear no, 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 every time? It's frustrating, right? But that's what happens when we keep offering solutions from our perspective, not theirs. What works better is to take the weight off yourself and make it their solution. Ask them what they think would help. If they've got an idea, build on it. If they don't, keep it simple. Give them two realistic choices you can stand behind. Either way, you're moving forward together. You're not trying to sell them a solution they don't want. Here's an example of how you might bring them into the process of finding a solution with you. After listening and getting a grasp of what the person needs, you might say something like, "It sounds like the hardest part for you is lying awake all night with your mind racing. You just want to have enough energy to get through work here. So let me ask you, what do you think would help you the most with that?" If they have an idea, use it to start creating a realistic first step with them. And that way it's their plan, not yours. And that ownership makes them far more likely to follow through. Now, if they say, "I don't know what would help," or they refuse to engage, that's when you offer two simple options, both of which move them toward what they need and are acceptable to you. For example, you might say, "Well, we could call the clinic and set up an appointment with a counselor for you to talk to, or we could head to the ER where you can connect with crisis support right away. Which one feels better for you?" Notice that both choices are simple first steps, not big promises. Small steps create movement, and that lowers resistance. Here's how it sounds on a real call. Picture this. You're on a call with someone who's clearly depressed and overwhelmed. They tell you nothing seems to help, and they're just tired of feeling this way. As you work the call, you've already done the basics. You've listened, asked questions, and gotten a sense of what really matters to them. And at some point, they tell you straight out, they just want to feel like their life is back on track. So you might say, it sounds like you're feeling depressed and overwhelmed, and you just want to feel like things are under control again. What do you think would help you the most with that right now? Now, this can go two ways. If they have an idea such as maybe talking to someone would help, you build on it. That's a good idea. Who do you think would be the best person to start with? Then you begin working on a plan together. But if when you first asked them what would help, they said, I don't know, I have no idea what would help. You give them two clear, acceptable options. For example, well, you've said you're feeling depressed and overwhelmed and you want things under control again. We've got a couple options. We could set up an appointment with a counselor, or we could head over to the living room where you can speak with a peer specialist right away. Which one feels better to you? See, the point is that either way, whether they have an idea or not, you're still moving them toward help. And you're doing it with them, not for them. Here's the big caveat though, and I can't stress this enough. Don't skip the listening and jump straight to offering your solutions. When you do that, it feels like you're just trying to clear the call. And the moment that trust is gone, the whole interaction gets harder. So remember, listening and understanding will always be your starting point. But the real shift happens when you invite the person in crisis to help build that first step toward a solution that matters to them. That's how you turn refusals into progress, without force, without frustration. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe so you'll be ready for the next skill I cover to improve your crisis response. And while you're here, sign up for my free newsletter, The Insightful Responder. It's where I share real-world tools that make a difference when you're navigating a crisis. Until next time, remember, train to respond, not just react. Because calm, confident action changes everything.